Hello there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. Tell us about the jump into cannabis. How did you decide at some point to say, okay, I'm going to take some of this retirement money and invest in this exploding industry, which at the time was still what I would call risky.
It very much was. It still is, to be pretty blunt. But so I had my real estate business for going on through the crash. And, I'll be honest that being in real estate during, 2008 to 2012 was not a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
So I ended up sort of divesting my real estate holdings and then was doing some business consulting again.
Okay.
And in 2013 or early 2014, I ended up meeting my business partner, Kevin Daly, who I had been friends with for a long, long time. And he told me that he had bought a cannabis company. Mm. So it was, sort of like you said, back, 5, 6 years ago, it was really out of the box.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Yep.
So we talked a little bit about it and, kind of left it at that. And then when Colorado approved recreational sales, I saw that was going to be a huge opportunity in Colorado. Mm. So I contacted him out of the blue and said, hey, if you need some help growing your company, which is sort of my specialty, give me a call. So he called me like 15 minutes later and said, come out and take a look. I came out and, saw what he was doing and saw that they really could use some sort of professional business management and decided to consult with him for basically I would come out 1 week a month. I was still living in Massachusetts at the time. So I did that for about 3 or 4 months, saw, the opportunity. They were looking for investment in the company, so I invested. And part of that investment was that I became a managing partner in the business.
That was, back then, that was, not a lot of people, had the guts to make that investment at that time. So I think, for Kevin to buy it and then for you to invest at that time, it was risky and dangerous. And of course, that was even way before people were comfortable putting, cannabis on their LinkedIn profiles, for God's sakes. I remember so many people were trying to get in the industry, but they didn't want to tell anybody.
Oh, absolutely. There are still, repercussions of being in the cannabis industry. Your personal finances can be frozen. It's tough to get a bank account. That there are definitely implications of doing it. I've, being in the tech industry and sort of, being in startups, I haven't been risk averse. I kind of have sought out challenging opportunities, and I really saw that this was an opportunity. I was very fortunate to, be to have lived through the .com era and, benefited from that. And, I saw this as a similar, life-changing opportunity and really cultural changing opportunity, and to participate in that. And, look, now, Colorado was the first state. Now there are, 28 states that have legal cannabis. And it's really, looked at as a, an industry that's, providing a lot of growth and opportunity to a lot of people. So I was fortunate that, I got in with this good company and, helped steer it in the right way, but there was definitely risk involved.
as a recruiting firm, Riderflex constantly gets people, from out of state saying, I want to be in the cannabis industry, and I was an executive for Coca-Cola, and I want to, get into cannabis. Help me get into the industry. We get those calls regularly. What advice would you give executives, or I guess really anybody, but let's say managers to executives that are not in the industry, but they want in the cannabis industry? What advice would you give those folks?
I would say, it's not all gold and pearly gates. It's a very, very challenging industry. I worked very, very hard early in my career, and worked a lot of hours. This has been by far the most challenging job that I've had throughout my career.
Wow.
That's because of the challenges of working in cannabis and regulations and people and just the ever-changing economics around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a golden path, definitely. But so the advice I would give is to become as well informed as you can.
Right.
Even though I consulted with the company for several months before I joined the company, I really didn't have a good perspective of everything that's involved in it. Mm-hmm. And so I would say do as much research as you can. Try to if you have someone who may be associated with the cannabis business, try to shadow them or get a feel for what's really involved, because it's not easy. I mean, I know that you know what I'm talking about, because you've dealt with the industry, but it's kind of tough to explain to people unless they actually get involved in it.
I totally agree. I encourage them, similar to what you said. I will ask them, well, have you toured a facility? Have you visited with a friend that works in the industry? Have you studied as much as you can about it online? I totally agree. As much homework as you can possibly do, but specifically if they can visit with executives that came into the industry. Riderflex, our recruiting firm, we're probably, 25-30% of our business is in cannabis, something like that. And many of those folks have been placed at Mindful. In fact, by the way, let me just say thank you to you personally, because for the listeners that probably don't know, out of the 200 people Riderflex has placed over the last 2.5 years, our very first placement and our very first client was Mindful, where we placed a VP of sales. And that was because yourself and Kevin and Tom gave us that opportunity. So I really don't think Riderflex would be where we're at today without that. So thank you very much, Jeff, for that.
Well, thank you. You and your team have done a great job, helping us grow and bringing us great people along the way as well.
We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.